Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan with week 12 Wednesday. And I see I have some music here going on. There we go. That's better. So go ahead and pause the video and answer the following questions for your warm up. This is week 12 Wednesday, Algebra 2, semester 2. All right, so for question number 1, I asked you guys to describe the shape of an absolute value, parabola, square root, and cube root. So it's kind of like a review of graphing radicals. And then some of the things that you should have drawn should look like this specifically. Remember, your cube root is this weird little S shape that starts on the bottom, then it curves up. Your absolute value is always going to be the shape of a V. Your parabola is going to be like a smiley face. And then your graph of a square root is kind of like this little squiggly line in purple. So those are the 4 things you should have for question number 1. All right, and then remember the transformation of this is fairly simple. Your K is what the number on the very end is always going to tell you whether it's going to go up or down, because if it's a positive K, you go up. If it's a negative K, you go down. Then you look at the number that's inside the absolute value, and you got to think about the fact that because there's a negative, everything has to be opposite. So if it's a positive H, I know you want to go to the right, but you actually go to the left. And if it's a negative H, I know you want to go to the left, but opposite of left is you go to the right. A has 2 different functions. If it's a negative A, it's always upside down. If it's a positive A, it's right side up. That's the first function of A. Another one is if A is bigger than 1, you know it's going to be a skinnier version of your graph. So like, for example, if it's a parabola, it will be like a skinnier happy face. And then if A is smaller than 1, like in a fraction 1/3, because A is technically 0.33, then it's going to be a wider version of that. So it'll be like something like this. So it's just a stretched happy face. Okay, so those are the things you should be concerned about and looking at, and make sure you guys remember that. All right, so I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and take a look over here. So today is going to be the 6th. This is the calendar of where we are. Your next holiday is on April 18th, which is a professional development day. So you guys do not need to be here on campus. Another thing you need to know is that when you guys sign in, you saw the little check marks right there. If you get a check plus, that means you got full points. If you get a check, that means you almost got it, but you know, there's still some things missing. And if you have a check minus, that means you turn the assignment in, but you really don't have, you get like 6 out of 10. Okay, you still turn it in, but it's not fully completed. Now, if you have no check mark next to your name, that's because I don't have anything from you. You know, you didn't turn anything in. And so in which case you will go into the grade book as an M, which in this school year, you get a 50%, can pass with a 50%. So I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and turn things in. If you get a check minus, it's between a 60 to a 70. If you get a check plus, it's between a 75 to like, let's say like an 85. And then anything with a check plus is kind of between 90 to 100. So that's kind of like the breakdown of what we have. All right, so what did you guys do last class? You guys had your sub yesterday. Hopefully you guys completed the assignment. And if you haven't, you wanna make sure you turn it in. But the assignment that you had looks something like this. I gave you guys a link to the video. It's 28 minutes and I asked you to turn it in at the end of class. So this is what it looks like. You have the QR code right here, so you can watch the video and then copy it down. And once you complete it, today is a day to turn it in because I'm going to be updating your grade today while you take your assessment on Math Excel. Another thing that I gave you guys was also the assessment, which is this Google form. So if you go ahead and scan that, it's going to take you, and I gave this to you guys on Monday. So you just give me your email and then answer the following questions. I do have about 12 of you guys that submitted it, but that's only like 50% of the class. So if you have not submitted this, make sure you guys get that done as well. All right, so since you guys have a sub, I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and take a look at this part right here. So take out your cell phone and I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and use the QR code to submit your experience during your sub day. It's fairly simple. It's only about like 4 questions. So grab your cell phone and go ahead and respond to that. All right, you guys, so this is going to be your breakdown for today, week 12, Wednesday. We're still on solving and graphing radical expressions. So today I'm going to continue my notes from week 12, Monday's handout. It's going to be the back page of it. And in the second half of class, I'm going to give you guys the assessment on Math Excel. It's only going to be 5 questions. And then you're going to turn in that handout I gave you guys on that Monday. Once you finish the back side of it today, to class for me, and then I'll give you guys your checks. So every day when you guys sign in, you should be able to see how many check marks you have. And if you have no check marks, that's because you haven't turned in anything. And so you get a 5 out of 10, but you need a 60% pass. So just keep that in mind. So with that said, everybody go ahead and turn over to this page right here. This was the back of week 12 Monday's assignment. And so if you need a copy of it, I have some right over here on the desk. So you're welcome to go ahead and grab that. Now, if you did not complete the other side, the front side of it, make sure you watch the video for week 12 Monday, and then make sure you have that filled out before you turn it in, because you might just get a check minus because it's not 100% completed. Oh yeah, here we go. No, it's totally my fault because I said that you're gonna finish this with a sub, and I was like, no, I changed my mind. So yeah, it happens. If you guys already turned your stuff in, make sure you guys go ahead and grab that back. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the first part then. I'm gonna make sure I set this up correctly so I can, okay, here we go. So first things first, make sure you guys write down your name so that way I know who you are. And you guys are in period 3, date, and the topic for today is just on radicals. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. First thing I'm gonna have you guys do is label the parts of a radical. And so that little 3 right there, that is called the index. The number on the inside, which is a 64 right here, that is called a radicand. And if you take a look at the root right there in the yellow, that's just called the cube root. So next what I'll have you guys do is I want you to create an example of a radical equation. You can create it however you want in your head. What do you think it should look like? So there's no wrong answers. So take a moment and do that. Okay, so how do you go about solving a radical? So these are the steps specifically. To solve an equation that involves a variable in a radicand, we must get the radicand on one side of the equation alone in order to solve it. Solution that results in a false statement when plugged in are called extraneous solutions. Extra N-E-O-S solutions. Okay, so this is where you have 2 answers. You have the first answer and the second answer. You got to plug both of those numbers back into the equation because one of them will not equal it. So you just have to check. All right, let's go on to the next part right over here. Okay, so here's your first example. Reflect, why do you need to square both sides of the equation after getting the radical alone? Well, first, let's get the radical alone. It's not alone, you have a -4 right there, okay? That's outside of the square root. So how do you go about getting rid of that -4? Opposite of a -4 is a +4. So I'm just gonna add 4 on both sides. And then when I do that, that positive -4 cancels. Square root of x minus 1 equals 0 plus 4 is just a 4. So then you want to get rid of that square root. What is opposite of a square root? It is a square. Okay, so then your square root and your square cancels. So then you have x minus 1, which is free now. 4 squared is not 8. It's not 4 times 2. It's 4 times 4, which is 16. And then opposite of a positive or -1 is a +1. So what's 16 plus 1? It's going to give you a 17. So then in your reflection right there, it says, why do we square both sides of the equation? Well, why do you think? So just give me one sentence there in orange. All right, so then now that I've went ahead and showed you guys one, I'm gonna have you guys try this next one. So do you see how there's a 2 right there? The opposite of a 2 times is a 2 divide. So go ahead and divide it by 2 and then solve that one on your own. Your answer should just be 7. So if you have that, you are good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom where it says check your work. So you know that the first part right there, your answer is going to be 17. So if I were to check my work right here, what that will look like is I just simply take that 17, plug it back into the original equation, and you want to do that when you have 2 answers, one of them is fake. So you have 17 minus 1, which is 16, minus 4. Does that equal 0? Well, the square root of 16 is 4. So 4 minus 4 Yep, it checks out. It does indeed equal 0. Your answer for the U-try was a 7. So if I were to go ahead and check this, I just take that 7, plug it right there where the x is. So I have 2 square root. 3 times 7 is a 21 plus 15. Does that equal 6? I'm just going to put a question mark because I really don't know. Well, 21 plus 15 is a square root of 36. Square root of 36 is just a 6. So then I have 2 times 6, which is 12. Does that equal 6? It does not. Did I make a mistake here somewhere? Does anybody see what happened? What did I do? 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 15. I'm not quite sure why this is not working out. 6 divided by 2. It's 3. Oh, yeah. No. I totally screwed that up. Hold on. Sorry. This is my fault. So when I checked, I was like, well, 12 doesn't equal 6. So what happened here? So I obviously made a little mistake here. So I'm gonna go back to this, and I did, because I put 6 divided by 2 and I put 6. That's not 6, it's 3, right? So then 3 squared is 9. So then 9 minus 15 is a negative 6. And then negative 6 divided by 3 is a negative 2. Duh. So sometimes if you make a mistake like I do with like small little things, check your answer. And in this case, it didn't equal. So obviously there was a problem. So now let's check my answer. So negative 2. So I have 2 square root. 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6 plus 15. Does that equal 6? I'm gonna put a question mark because I really don't know yet because I haven't tracked. So 2 times the square root of 9 does equal 6. Well, square root of 9 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So that is correct. And that's another reason why we want to check our work to ensure that if you make a silly little mistake like I did, which that happens sometimes, that you are able to get to the right answer. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next part. So I'm going to go over to the far right side right there. All right, so for this one, I am actually going to be going over a few questions, and then I'm going to have you guys go over a few questions. So the ones that I'm going to go over, let's go ahead and do the harder one, which is question number 4. So let's take a look at question number 4. All right, so question number 4, notice your square root is on the very bottom, which is unfortunate. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna put a 1 underneath the 2, and you're just gonna go and crisscross multiply, okay? So you have 2 times the square root of 5x minus 4, which I'm highlighting right there in orange, and then 8 times 1, which I'm highlighting in green. So you have 2 times the square root of 5x minus 4 is equal to 8 times 1, which is 8. And then once you crisscross multiply like that, this just looks like the second example that we went over. So before you go ahead and square both sides, you got to get rid of that 2 by dividing 2 on both sides. So then that 2 cancels, and you get the square root of 5x minus 4 equals 4. At this point, you can get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. So when you do that, your square and your square root cancels, and then we have 5x minus 4 equals 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. Then it's just a 2-step equation. Add the 4 on both sides, you get a 20 divided by 5, x equals 4. And that is your answer. So then we want to, of course, check your answer. So then when we check it, anytime you see an x in your equation, we're going to replace that with a 4. Well, you have a square root of 5x. So 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 4 is a square root of 16. You could probably just do this in your head. You know the square root of 16 is going to be a 4. So does 8 divided by 4 equal 2? Yes, it does. And so you know that your answer is correct for this. And that's how you will solve for your square root. So now that I did example 4 with you guys, I'm going to have you guys go back and work on questions numbers 1, 2, and 3. And they're not too difficult, and we will go over them together as well. So work on numbers 1, 2, and 3. So for those of you guys on Zoom, just pause the video. All right, you guys, so if you would like to go ahead and see how this is done with this problem, let's go ahead and take a look at number 1. So starting out with number 1, it is fairly simple. It's not overly complicated. For number 1, all you're going to do is you're just going to get rid of that square root. So you got to square both sides. Okay, so x is equal to -2 squared. So that's -2 times -2, which is just a 4. And that is your answer. Now, if you take a look at the checking for number 1, what's the square root of 4? Oh, hold on a second. Square root of 4, remember, is to be a plus and minus 2. And so your original answer was a -2. That is one of the answers. So you can go ahead and check that. So it is correct. So for number 2, you have a 7 right there. I don't like having that 7, so I want to get rid of it first. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 7 on both sides first. When I do that, I'm just going to cross out that positive -7, and I have a square root of 2x plus 5 equals -4 plus 7 is 3. So then once I have that, I'm going to square both sides. And when I do that, the square and the square root cancels. The 2x plus 5 is now by itself. It's 3. 3 times 3 is a 9. Now it's just like a two-step equation. Minus a 5. 9 minus 5 is a 4. 4 divided by 2 is a 2. So then when you check your answers here, you have the square root. 2x is 2 times 2, which is a 4, plus 5 minus 7. Does that equal -4? And I put a question mark because I really don't know. And that's why you want to do this. Well, 4 plus 5 is a 9, is a square root of 9, which is a 3, minus 7. Does that equal -4? It does, because you have a -4 equals -4, so it checks out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at example 3. So for example 3, you don't have any numbers on the outside, which is great. So I'm just going to directly just go to squaring both sides. So 1 plus x squared equals 5 times 5 is a 25. Subtract 1 on both sides. 25 minus 1 is a 24. Then you're going to square root both sides. Well, guess what? 24 is not a perfect square root, so you're going to have to either use your calculator or you can use your head. Okay, you know the square root of 25 is a plus or minus 5. You know that the square root of 24 is pretty close to 25, but it's going to be a little bit less. So if I had to make a guess, it might just be 4.9. So that is your answer, plus or minus 4.9. All right, you guys, and that's basically it. That is the end of your lesson for this. So next, I'm gonna have you guys do is go to your Math Excel, and let me go ahead and pull that up. So if you have a laptop, grab your laptop, and we're just gonna go to Washoe County School District, Math Excel. For your Envision, I'm gonna sign in right here. Algebra 2, and then Math Excel for School. You could do this on your cell phone or your iPad, or although I think your laptop probably works best. Okay, so then from here, I'm going to go to my assignment manager, and then we're going to go to create a quiz. And this is just gonna be titled Week 12, Wednesday, Algebra 2, Semester 2, Solving Radicals. I'll just put radical equations. There we go. Go over to next, and then we're gonna look for a radical right here. The section I want to click on is solving radicals. And there are 5 questions. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes, you guys. This is gonna be due on Sunday, so that's gonna be on the 10th by 11 p.m. And while you guys are doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and change your or update your assignment from last week for week 11, and it is now assigned. So go ahead and get started with that. '21. This one needs to be changed to 21. And so you have 2 assignments today. You have the Math Excel, and then you also have the quiz for Wednesday. So it's all labeled up there on your Math Excel, so you have access to it. And you have the rest of the class period to work on that, and I will go ahead and update your grade. For those of you guys who are on Zoom, that's basically it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care.